Wisdom, the final frontier to true knowledge. Welcome to Wisdom Trek, where our mission is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. Hello, my friend. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, your captain on our journey to increase wisdom and create a living legacy. Thank you for joining us today as we explore wisdom on our second millennium of podcast. This is day 1088 of our trek, and time for our Philosophy Friday series. Each Friday, we will ponder some of the basic truths and mysteries of life and how they can impact us in creating our living legacy. As we continue on this trek that we call life, sometimes we have questions about life. So our Friday trek is a time where we can Ask Gramps. Gramps will answer your questions that you would like to ask your dad or granddad, but for whatever reason, this is not possible. No matter how old we are, I know that all of us would like the opportunity to ask Dad or Gramps questions about life in many areas. We may mix it up a bit on our Friday episodes, but we will strive to keep them down to earth and enjoyable. If you have any questions that you would like to ask Gramps, please email your questions to guthrie@wisdom-trek.com. Events and circumstances that happen to us in life are not always as they will appear on the surface, and certainly not how they may appear to others. We need to keep this in mind and not jump to conclusions for ourselves or for others. So the question for this week is, Hey Gramps, can you tell me a story of a situation where something that may have seemed tragic, but looking back on it, there was much good and lessons learned through it? So today's lesson will be about the carpenter's wisdom. There have been many situations in our lives which at the time seemed devastating. But as we look back on them, we know that it was within God's plan for our lives and have shaped us into the person that we are today. Situations like my mom dying much sooner than we would have liked, a business failure that was financially devastating to us, our granddaughter being diagnosed with leukemia. There are many more situations in our lives, but I think I'll tell a story that I've read recently called The Carpenter's Dream, which teaches us valuable lessons that we all need to learn. Once upon a time, there was an old man who lived in a tiny village. Although poor, he was envied by all, for he owned a beautiful white horse. Even the king coveted his treasure. A horse like this had never been seen before. Such was its splendor, its majesty, and its strength. People offered fabulous prices for this steed, but the old man always refused. This horse is not a horse to me, he would tell them. It is a person. How can you sell a person? He is a friend, not a possession. How can you sell a friend? The man was poor, and the temptation was very great, but he never sold the horse. One morning when he went outside, he found that the horse was not in the stable. All the village came to see him. You old fool, they scoffed. We told you that someone would steal your horse. We warned you that you would be robbed. You are so poor. How could you ever hope to protect such a valuable animal? It would have been much better if you would have sold him. You could have gotten whatever price you wanted. No amount would have been too high. Now the horse is gone, and you have been cursed with misfortune. The old man responded, Don't speak too quickly. Say only that the horse is not in the stable. That is all we know. The rest is judgment. If I have been cursed or not, how can you know? How can you judge? The people contested. Don't make us out as fools. We may not be philosophers, but great philosophy is not needed. The simple fact that your horse is gone is a curse. The old man spoke again. All I know is that the stable is empty and the horse is gone. The rest I don't know. Whether it is a cursing or a blessing, I can't say. All we see is a fragment. Who can say what will come next? The people of the village laughed at him. They thought the old man was crazy. They had always thought that he was a fool. If he wasn't, he would have sold the horse and lived off the money. But instead, he was a poor carpenter, an old man still cutting wood and dragging it out of the forest and selling it. He lived hand to mouth in the misery of poverty. Now he had proven that he was indeed a fool. Well, after 15 days, the horse returned. He had not been stolen. He had run away into the forest. Not only had he returned, but this marvelous steed also brought a dozen wild horses with him. Once again, the village people gathered around the carpenter and spoke. "Old man, you were right, and we were wrong. What we thought was a curse was a blessing. Please forgive us." The man responded, "Once again, you go too far. Say only that the horse is back. State only that a dozen horses returned with him, but don't judge. How do we know if this is a blessing or not? You see only fragments. Unless you know the whole story, how can you judge? You read only one page of a book. Can you judge the whole book? You read only one word of a phrase. Can you understand that entire phrase? Life is so vast. Yes, you judge all of life with one page or one word. All you have is a fragment. Don't say that this is a blessing. No one knows. I am content with what I know. I am not perturbed with what I don't." "Maybe the old man is right," they said to one another. So they said little more at this time. But down deep they knew he was wrong. They knew it was a blessing. 12 wild horses had returned with his one horse. With a little bit of work, the animals could be broken and trained and sold for much money. The old man had a son, an only son. The young man began to break the wild horses. After a few days, though, he fell off one of the horses and broke both legs. Once again, the villagers gathered around the old man and cast their judgments. "You were right," they said. "You proved you were right. A dozen horses were not a blessing. They were a curse. Your only son has broken his legs, and now in your old age you have no one to help you. Now you are poorer than ever." The old man spoke again. "You people are obsessed with judging. Don't go so far. Say only that my son has broke his legs. Who knows if it is a blessing or a curse? No one knows. We only have a fragment. Life comes in fragments." It so happened that a few weeks later the country was engaged with war against a neighboring country. All the young men of the village were required to join the army. Only the son of the old man was excluded because he was injured. Once again the people gathered around the old man, crying and screaming because their sons had been taken. There was little chance that they would return. The enemy was strong, and the war would certainly be a losing struggle. They would never see their sons again. "You were right, old man," they wept. "God knows you were right. This proves it. Your son's accident was a blessing. His legs may be broken, but at least he is with you. Our sons are gone forever." The old man spoke again. "It is impossible to talk with you. You always draw conclusions. No one knows. Say only this. Your sons had gone off to war, and mine did not. No one knows if this is a blessing or a curse. No one is wise enough to know. Only God knows." As we conclude this story, we realize that the old man was right. We only have a fragment of life. Life's mishaps and horrors are only one page out of a grand book. We must be slow about drawing conclusions. We must reserve judgment on life's storms until we know the whole story. I don't know where this old carpenter learned his patience. Perhaps it was from another carpenter in Galilee, for it was that carpenter who said it best in Matthew chapter 6, verse 34. So don't worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will bring its own worries. Today's trouble is enough for today. And that carpenter should know. He was the author of our story, and he has already written the final chapter of our lives. Well, join us again next Friday for another question on our Ask Gramps episode. Our next trek will be Meditation Monday, where we will help you to reflect on those most important areas of life. So encourage your friends and family to join us and then come along with us on Monday for another day of Wisdom Trek, Creating a Legacy. If you'd like to listen to in the past 1087 daily treks or read the associated journals, they are all available at wisdom-trek.com. And I encourage you to subscribe to Wisdom Trek on your favorite podcast player so that each day will be downloaded to you automatically. And thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, your mentor, but most importantly, I am your friend, as I serve you through the Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. And as we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, and then leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and then create a great day every day. See you on Monday.